Are You a Believer? Taotaomona Tales, the podcast continues, now wrapping up with the stories from our own team here at KUAM inside the studio to hear all about it. We'll start off with who wants to go first?
I can start it off.
All right, Daniel Pears.
Well, so it's a couple stories actually, apart from the ones that I told you guys. But let me tell that full one. So this first one happened back in the Philippines during my third year of college. We had an event at the mall which ran super late. It ended around 11:30, and of course everybody went home, but the three of me and my two friends. So we all decided to part ways, even though for some reason we were going the same way. Unfortunately, I didn't have money. Okay, so I had to walk home instead of taking the trike. Little did I know the route that I took was the route that everybody avoids during the night. It's this haunted road, and the legend goes the reason why it's haunted is because there's an abandoned house that sits at the corner, and apparently a family was murdered there. If you look it up, you'll probably find it. It's called the Visconde massacres. So yeah, I was walking home. I didn't even realize I was on that road until I saw the house. So I freaked out. I weighed my options. I was like, should I just go back the longer way, or should I try my luck and continue on? It's just a story, anyways. That's what I thought. So I was like, all right, might as well walk through. And mind you, the street had zero lighting, like meaning it was pitch black, no street lights whatsoever. So I start walking a good 3 minutes. I have headphones on. I was playing music. And then all of a sudden, my phone dies, which is weird because I had like 80% left on my phone. And I double checked it. I was trying to turn it on. And then I was like, whoa. The scary part was my phone turned off as I was passing by the house. So I couldn't help it. Curiosity got me. I looked at the house, and lo and behold, there was light. You know, not really strong light, but light. So I panicked and I decided to jog the rest of the way. And I was like, whoa, whoa. Unfortunately, the friend that I parted with, we bumped into each other on a different road, and he was like, why are you running? I was like, you're not gonna believe this, bro. He's like, you went through the haunted road, did you? I was like, how'd you know? I was like, because you look like you seen a ghost. I was like, I kind of did. I don't really know if it was a ghost. It was a light. I don't know if that was a ghost. He was like, bro, that was a ghost. And from there, throughout the time where I finished college, I just never, ever went back to that road ever again after that first experience. So that's just one story. Maybe I'll hold the others and let you guys share.
Yeah, I mean, did that make you a believer?
A little bit, yeah. I was a skeptic because I've never seen a ghost, so I was like, this is nothing. It's probably just my mind playing tricks on me. But then, how can you explain a phone that's on 80%, that's almost fully charged, just die in the middle of your walk? And it died as I was passing by the house. So that was pretty scary, and I think there was something. I just don't know what it was.
Okay, Taotaomona Tales taking us to the Philippines. Who's up next?
Let's go to Rhoda.
Okay,
All right, let's go.
take it up to the Marianas.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to start off by saying I grew up hearing stories about the Taotaomona more so as our ancestors, not really like a scary figure. I often grew up with stories about with my uncle or aunts who would see their dead spouses or siblings appear to them in that way. So early on, that's how I learned about Taotaomona. I grew up on the island of Rhoda in the area called Milincatan. There was about 3 or 4 houses there, so if you're my neighbor, you know who you are. But I mentioned that because in that area, there's, I would say probably, I never really counted, but about 10 Taotaomona trees. We live right across, right in front of a mountain. So, the long roots that, attach to the ground from the top. They're all, it covers my backyard. And I would, actually, my friend from Guam, she visited that area, not knowing it's where I lived as a kid. and she felt she could just feel the presence of the Taotaomona because of all the trees there. And so, but as you grow up and you have cousins and siblings, the stories become scarier, right? So it went from being innocent to something more, something more scary. And I had one real life experience in particular that scared me and my two sisters the most. We were sleeping in that apartment where, with the backyard as the mountain with all the Taotaomona trees there, and our bedroom window had curtains that shows silhouettes if you pass by. And so the lights turned on at night, and so you can see the silhouette of bugs or anything else that would be in front of the window. And one particular night, we saw a silhouette of a lady and pushing her stroller, just going back and forth. And we thought, oh, that's one of the neighbors. It's an apartment complex, so we thought, okay, maybe one of the neighbors has a baby, and they're pushing their stroller late at night, past midnight. We thought nothing of it. We were a little scared, right? We were watching our movie on our laptop. Just, okay, this woman's going back and forth, and we can see her silhouette. We didn't think of it. We didn't think anything of it until the next morning when we woke up. And you know how you can peel paint off a wall? There was a figure. Her silhouette was peeled off of the wall. So we went outside, and we saw a silhouette of the outline of a woman pushing a stroller peeled off of the wall, as if someone did that. And that scared us, and we changed our curtains, and we turned off the light outside, actually, so that we wouldn't see that. So, again, if that was a Taotaomona, I guess thank you for visiting us. Again, going back to the roots of what I learned Taotaomona to be. But I guess during the spooky season, I think about that story and how, that definitely would have scared me, even today, several years later.
Yeah, I mean, wow, just first off, growing up in a neighborhood where you have 10 Taotaomona trees, I mean, did you see that more as kind of protection or something scarier?
Yeah, I think I definitely saw it more as protection. Small town, so you things are quiet. You hear nature a lot, and it definitely felt like a fortress more so. I do know that like even at one point, the roots would get so overgrown it would even like crack some of the concrete, and it was such a discussion with my parents and the adults, like, do we like cut the roots or do we just leave them? Because cutting down a Taotaomona tree probably isn't like something you would do just because, right? So I would say it's even seeing my parents like, having anxiety over whether or not they should, cut the roots of this tree because it's breaking the concrete of the building. Just shows how serious it is, right? And so, I'm one of those people who's like, if you don't need to open the door to go down to the attic, don't do that. So I never really bothered thinking what's out there because I'd rather not know.
Not the one from the horror movie screaming, "Is anyone out there?" when you hear a suspicious noise and you're the only one home. Oh, that silhouette. How about the newest member of the bunch, Darby? You got something to share?
Yeah. So when I was starting college, I moved from Tamuning to Delgado, and it was an old house, and my room was on the farthest right of the house, which is like near this little small like property with like a jungle, so it's an empty lot. And the house was good vibes. Like I didn't see anything. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is like a Taotaomona experience, but you guys let me know after the story. So it was after I would say 3 days. Like typical college student while studying, like blasting music, and stuff like that. And the next morning, I woke up with a bunch of bruises on my legs. It was like just all over my legs, like from my calves to my thighs, nothing on my upper body, just all in my legs. And I was like, man, why am I waking up with bruises? I don't know where it's coming from, right? And what was weird about it too was that the bruises did not hurt at all. Like I could see it, it's on my body, but it doesn't hurt. Like it's just there. It's like it just became part of my skin. But it's 100% bruises, right? So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let it go, not show my parents yet. And then I waited after the 3rd day when I just kept waking up with more. So I was like, Mom, I need to get this checked because I'm not sure. I'm not. I wasn't worried about it only because it didn't hurt. but still I should have been just alert about it, right? So my mom brought me to a Sorohanu, and they were like wondering if, what if there's a spirit or whatever it is that was like going on in that old house, but they were saying that it was a good spirits. So I was like, oh, okay. And they were probably just shocked that I had just recently moved into the house after the house being so quiet all the time, and they just weren't used to having someone there,
Just
with
saying
playing
hello?
music. Yeah, pretty much. So they're like saying like they're nice spirits saying like, oh, like we got Magodai with you, pretty much, right? So after that visit, they gave me a bracelet that I've actually been wearing for 4 years now. It's a tiger's eyes bracelet, and ever since I started wearing this bracelet, I never got the bruises again. Yeah, so what do you guys think? I don't know, like,
I think so. I mean, because I've heard like bruising can be one of the, I don't want to say symptoms, but one of the things that happens. That's, yeah. I mean, and the fact that you haven't gotten it since you've been wearing the bracelet.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say yes. Taotaomona.
That was my story.
Just Suruanu, right?
Yeah.
Like that seals the story. Yeah.
That's true.
That doc says yes.
Yeah.
Then it's yes. Joan?
Well, for me, I was born in California. So when my dad retired and we moved here, the whole Taotaomona thing was very new to me. They had to explain it to me and everything. So in the early 2000s, I went to a rosary in Inarajan right behind the church, and I was running late, so I ended up having to park. I ended up parking near, it was like 3 laddie stones, and I just remember getting out of the car, and I was being loud, and it was already like the evening, and I didn't think anything of it. But then the following day, when it was sundown, I started to get like the chills. I had cold sweat. I was like in a fetal position in bed, and my mom thought it was just probably like a stomach bug or something. But then the following morning it was gone. But then when sundown hit, it came back. And so we were trying, she was like, she was asking me to kind of retrace my steps. Well, what did you do and everything? So I did bring up to her that, well, I parked here near the laddie stones. And she goes, were you loud? Were you disrespectful? And I'm like, I don't think I was. And she's like, you need to do is you need to go there during the day. You need to apologize, and you need to kind of say a prayer. So like the following day, was actually on the third day, went, and I said, I apologize, I said a prayer, and I thought I looked like ridiculous if there was anyone passing by, like, what is this girl doing near like the laddie stones, right?
Were you yelling?
I wasn't yelling. I was just really like to myself, like, just pray, but really trying to make it into, like with intent. And then I waited till sundown, and I didn't have like the symptoms again. So I mean, they had always told me about like being respectful, and the whole thing about like asking permission and things like that. And before I was a skeptic, and now I totally believe that. So I mean, since then I'm very careful where I park, and at night I try not to be super loud, especially if it's places I'm not familiar with. So I mean, that's my story. Yeah.
Wow.
How about you, Nick? What's
I mean, yeah, I guess it comes down to me. I mean, I had a similar incident where I remember being young and I was watching TV late at night. I had the volume pretty loud for that late hour, and I could hear just a tapping on my window. It's just like as if someone's just using their fingernails to just tap on my front window. I'm thinking nothing of it at first, right? But I lower down my TV, the volume, and it stops. So I get back to watching my show, turn the volume back up to what it was, and it goes again. Tap, 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 tap. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm in my own home. I'm a kid.
out the window?
I am not looking out the window. No, I did not look out the window. But it stopped eventually once I decided to turn it off. And some people tell me when I tell that story, they're telling you, it's time for bed. This now is not the time to be making all this noise when everyone should be resting, especially you, little boy. I was a naughty kid. But yeah, that was one story. Just a couple of years ago, though, I actually tried going to a card reader, and I kid you not, she had to stop the reading, mid-reading, run to the restroom, and I can hear her just hawking up, making the most excruciating sound as if it almost sounded like you're in a delivery room where a mother was giving birth. That's how drastic it was, how dramatic it was. When she came back, she said that it took all of her energy and strength to just continue breathing because she took a spirit out of me. Apparently, I was possessed. I know, buried the lead there. I was possessed is what she said. She said she could see two heartbeats in me at the same time. She had to do this whole ritual. And so after that, she recommended that I go see a Sarohana. My mom took me. They did this whole plate ceremony with me with the smoke and the flames. And then that's when the Sarohana showed me the plate. We saw that there was pretty much like a female figure in it, and there was a curse put on me somehow. And no, I don't know who it could be. I mean, we do stories about everyone on this island, so who knows, right? And I don't know if I could link it to our profession, but that was the experience where I had to do the whole blessed palm, going around my house, give the offering outside with the rice and the egg and the red wine, and just say a prayer outside. I don't know if any of you have heard that, but yeah, that was pretty intense just to hear that. I'm going into work the next day. Oh, how was your weekend? Well, I was possessed. But yeah, that's my story. That's my Taotaomona Tale, and I hear a lot more where it gets pretty spooky. But then the lesson learned is just, like many of you have said, and many of the others that we spoke with, respect. It's important, and it's brought up not in just our culture here in Guam and in the Marianas. I'm sure it's similar when you were up in the Philippines, Daniel, and stateside as well. I've lived there, and it's just kind of become customary. But everyone here is a believer, for the most part.
I was gonna say I was trying to check on you that night and give you a pizza, but it wasn't me. I'm definitely a believer. I still truly believe that there are protectors first, and that maybe some other stories, those weren't our ancestors, right? Those were the evil spirits. But yeah, I think one thing I can't get my mind around, that just really drives a point home for me is that even like at the high school on Rhoda, there's the one Taotaomona tree there that is just so huge, and like no one touches it. They build around it, so that's the type of culture I grew up in. Just really letting them be at peace, and that if you're bothered in the wrong way, you probably did something wrong, maybe, right?
And even for myself, even when I go to bed at night, I don't know if it's because my mind's still racing from the busy workday, I feel like there are eyes piercing at me, looking. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but when you're laying there and your eyes are closed and you're just trying to rest, you feel a presence, or you feel like someone's there. Lately, I don't know why, it's probably listening to the stories of others, like someone's sitting on my back. But I'm just so exhausted in trying to.
Energy.
I think it's just you.
It's just well, Dispensa, I'm sorry for what's the prayer we need to say?
What is
We were talking about that, right?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how I don't know if you're listening or watching, but we were talking about what the different prayers, what the different asking for permission is. I know it's different everywhere around. I don't want to say mine just in case it's wrong or someone says it's not the right one. But it'll be interesting, I guess if it's a comment or whatever, to share your, right, to hear other people's. I'm not saying it. I know the social media mob out there, but I am interested to read what others would say if you wanted to type it out clearly and let us know, because I think we're all asking for the same thing, right? But it's interesting to know how different it is, maybe. Yeah.
Dan,
So,
you want to share?
Yeah, so of course here in Guam, in Saipan, I think it's Dispensazu, right? Or like, excuse me, something like that.
It's a more full version from Dispensa's, right?
Right. Well, in the Philippines, we say tabi tabi po, which is basically, excuse me, I'm here to pass by or do your business. So that's what we say. If there's a story, if you don't say it, your um, down there would grow and it would bother you. But yeah, Darby, you've heard of that. Yeah. So yeah, there's this belief that if you don't say that, and if you pee in the jungle or pass by, and if you don't say that, something's gonna latch onto you because you're basically trespassing.
Well, I mean,
Similar here, right?
yeah, we asked permission here, right, Joan? What's the word that we say here?
I remember now. I came from California, so I've heard it. I have heard it, but I don't know what it is exactly.
I think we pretty much just, and we've heard other people's storytellers say it's Guelu Zanguela, right? I always get them mixed up, but that's kind of asking permission. The rest I do in English because that's the extent of what I know in the language. And so for the most part, it seems like everyone here then is a believer.
For sure.
No matter where you come from, no matter your experience. Anything you want to say just about what you've learned from hearing from the other stories, Darby?
I mean, I don't know a lot of people who's experienced like Taotaomona stories, but ever since I moved here when I was 7, it's always to just respect. Like, moving to Guam really taught me that you need to move with respect regardless of where you go. Like, talking to people, like just being present somewhere or visiting new places, like it all comes with respect. And I understand why this whole like Taotaomona thing is, it's a big deal to everyone because it's all about respect, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just trying to tell another legend or scare the next generation. It's greater than that.
But like, we can all agree it's mainly to scare the kids, right?
I guess it depends on the individual's intentions. You're right.
Yeah, I just wanted to share. I don't think she'll mind me reading her message because I was chatting with Juanita Masga on Tinian about Taotaomonas, for this, and I don't think she'll mind. So sorry if you do though. She says, it simply means ancestors or people before us, not negative connotations. They're not evil spirits. They are spirits of our ancestors. And so that coming from Juanita over on Tinian, and I think hopefully that storyline prevails and for our kids and their kids. But maybe around October we can add a little bit of Ajinomoto, right? So it's a little bit better for them. It's maybe more fun to scare them. I don't know.
Okay. Did you have anything else to add? All right. Well, that was beautifully put from Juanita. Thank you for sharing that, Tomas. And thank you guys all for sharing your individual encounters and stories of the people from our past. No matter where you came from, no matter where it occurred, it's a real story and it's a real occurrence that, in the end, respect matters. Thank you guys so much for joining us. For Taotaomona Tales, the podcast, you can check out all the interviews we did throughout the week as well on the KUAM Podcast Network, as well as streaming on KUAM News social media platforms. Be safe.